Hello everyone. So it's the first time that you actually see my face. So I just want to give you a very brief video announcement to just review a little bit what we have done up to now, and also to tell you important dates that are coming, especially thinking about your final. So, as you read in the course description, what I hope that you get out, that you learn throughout these weeks in this course, is the concept of culture, a very nuanced and complicated way of understanding culture. And if you think about it, and if we think about it in metaphorical terms, as it were, we can think about culture almost as a pair of shades, right? We do not see the world as it is, but we see the world depending on the color of the shades we wear, the transparency or the darkness of the shades we wear, right? And these shades then are the different types of culture that people around the world hold, and then judge the physical world through that. As you are seeing with the case studies and with the readings, the approach that we take in this course is a cross-cultural perspective course, which means that we do not strive to understand sexuality, gender, the environment, sustainability, politics, only from the viewpoint of one specific culture, only wearing one set of shades. But what we want to try to do, and what we have been doing, is to look at these specific concepts, categories, right, such as race, racism, gender, sexuality, etc., from different perspectives, right? Looking at specific case studies to understand how is it that different societies understand, perform these kind of human practices. So this week, let's go a little bit back. So in the first week, we wrestled, problematized the very concept of culture. We also discovered what anthropology is, what it does, how can it be utilized in applied ways. The second week, we concentrated mostly on ethnography, which, as you know, is the basic component of anthropology. Ethnography is pretty much what anthropologists do, right? Which consists heavily on field work and participant observation, with, of course, the central principle of cultural relativity, right? That we cannot judge practices done around gender, for instance, in one society with the viewpoint of another societies, right? And here we, of course, have to speak about the effects and the legacies of colonialism in the way we understand others. We also look briefly on the relationship between culture and language, and we ask this very fundamental question that poses a problem around the idea or the question of whether there is a world outside of language or not, right? It's one of those dilemmas that we in the anthropological world continue to think about, and as you read, there are different positions around it. Then we revised a little bit this concept of race and the construction of racism and the effects that this has had in societies, especially in the North American society, and this idea of race thinking, right? A way of understanding the world through the viewpoint of race thinking. So this week we delve ourselves into gender and sexuality on the one hand, and then environment and sustainability in the other. So the textbook that we have been reading has this sort of backbone that holds sustainability and migration and globalization throughout the book, right? So these three concepts, these three categories are spread around the book, because what we would like to suggest, to try to understand at the end of this course, is how is it that we can think about ethnography, how can we do ethnography, how can anthropologists understand difference, similarities, in a world that continues to be more global, more cosmopolitan, in an era of massive migration, due on the one hand to political turmoil, on the other heavily as well on climate change. Right. So this week is very important because we will look at how anthropologists look at the environment, both natural and social environments, right? That's important to understand. When we speak about climate, we are speaking about both the social climate that has to do with culture and cultural practices, and then the natural world that exists materially and almost objectively, although culture mediates the relationship that we have with the natural world as well. The final week, we look at politics and power and art and media. There are only 2 chapters that I would like you guys to read, because I also want you guys to concentrate on your final, right? Your final is due on July 1st by midnight. I will give instructions towards the end of this week, and with very detailed instructions. There are 2 options that you can do. One, it's a conventional final exam with a set of questions that you'll have to answer in essay form, and then another option that has to do with a research paper, right? So you will engage in a research paper with a topic of your interest, right? And of course, some guidelines will be provided for this. Okay, so that's sort of the structure, some themes we've covered, an important deadline that is coming, and I also want to thank you for really interesting, insightful, intelligent conversations, comments that you have had in the discussion forum, and also your answers, your weekly answers to the questions that I pose have been, for the most part, very well structured, well thought out, insightful. So I look forward to reading your responses this week. I look forward to reading your discussions in the discussion forum this week, and of course looking forward for your finals eventually when they come. So I normally do not respond individually to your emails when they are the homework, right? I just receive them, grade them, and that's it. Now, if you need to speak to me, please email me, but with a headline, with a subject line that explicitly tells me that this is not homework, that you need to speak to me, or the theme of the conversation that you would like to have, whether it's a question about the material, whether it's a question about the final, or whether it's a question about anything that you like to chat about. And if I can address it via email, I will. But if not, we can also set a time to meet via Zoom or a telephone call. So that's all for now. The questions for this week should be available on Blackboard, and the discussion forum should also be available so that you guys can start doing your weekly assignments. Have a beautiful rest of the week, and looking forward to reading your responses.